Do we have it written down clearly so anyone can follow it, even on a busy day? And if the answer is no, that's your opportunity. Welcome to Manage It Monday, your midday motivation to optimize your food safety strategies and elevate your business operations. Greetings and welcome back to Manage It Monday. I'm Rochelle Howell, your food entrepreneurship and operations coach. When I reflect on my childhood, growing up in Chicago, you had to be book smart and street smart. It wasn't an option. It was the way you navigated the world. If you wanted to make it out or do something different than, what you may know in your surrounding area, your immediate area. And for me, that balance didn't stop when I left the neighborhood or I left Chicago and came back. It followed me through every part of my career and my life. When I went to culinary school, I quickly realized something. I wasn't the most creative or naturally talented in the kitchen. But when it came to the management courses, the systems, the strategy, the structure, I knew there was another space for me in food, and I decided to find it. I worked in catering and food safety management, but decided to layer it with a public health degree focused on health education. I got my big start as a health inspector, and later I moved to corporate food safety and quality assurance. And that's when everything clicked. Going in and out of different types of businesses all over the US, looking at their strengths and their opportunities, and having to coach and train people about food safety and changing behaviors is where I started to really see the gap between knowledge and execution in the food industry. On one side, you've got this corporate systems and checklist, and on the other side, you've got kitchens and businesses with real people trying to make it all work, often in the middle of some crazy rush. And because of how I was raised and how I was trained, I realized I could move between both worlds seamlessly. And that's what I've been doing ever since. I created the Paperwork Chef to take entrepreneurship, food safety, and people management out of the classroom and off the clipboard and bring it to the small businesses, to the home kitchens, to the food vendors, to the production floor operators, and everyone else who wants to start or grow a business that can last and compete with corporations. When reading Will Guidara's book, Unreasonable Hospitality, I related so well to his concept of corporate smart and restaurant smart because around here, we've been living that balance our whole lives and doing some good work for some large companies in the process. So today, I want to talk about how you can lead with both corporate smart and restaurant smart. Now, I'm going to explain it through my eyes, okay? Not Will's. Now, corporate smart is the organization. It's the structure, the systems, it's your SOPs, your HACCP plans, your documentation, audits, logs, all the paperwork and the processes that helps a business run. It's built for scale. And what I mean by that is, it's how you make sure that food safety looks the same at 5 locations as it does at 50. It's how a corporate office makes sure that what's happening in Chicago is also happening in Atlanta, Houston, and LA. It's about preventing legal issues, keeping folks out of courtrooms, and showing the government agencies that you're compliant with their regulations and that you're in control. It's also how you track trends, make improvements, and build consistency in your business. And you know what? I love being corporate smart, especially when you've got employees, because most people aren't out here trying to wing it. They want to know, what do I need to do? How do I need to do it? When do I need to do it? And most importantly, why does it matter? That's what corporate smart gives you: structure, expectations, and protection. Now, restaurant smart, That's boots on the ground. That is the movement. That's the people. It's your line cooks, your prep team, your shift leads who are out here making it happen while the fryer's acting up and somebody just called off. It's dealing with facility issues in real time, adjusting your prep list on the fly, figuring out how to make that checklist work during the lunch rush. And even if you don't run a restaurant, you've still got a version of this. It might be your field teams, your retail workers, your warehouse staff, or your production crew. In that sense, restaurant smart is your front line and corporate smart is your leadership. And when those two aren't in sync, that's when food safety and people start falling through the cracks. The gap is where food safety falls apart. So, what causes the breakdown? It's not just that corporate smart and restaurant smart are different, it's that sometimes they just don't understand or respect each other. Corporate builds a policy and expects it to be followed, but they might not know what the kitchen's really dealing with. The receiving team is trying to make it work in the moment, but it feels like the policy was written by someone who's never stepped foot in a warehouse. The system says, complete this log every 4 hours. The employee says, we didn't even have a working pen, let alone a spare hand to complete it every 4 hours. The policy says, verify that temperatures are maintained during transport. But the manager says, we were so slammed, someone just threw the pan in their car just to get it there on time. No Cambros, no heat packs. Corporate says, if you see a rodent, call the pest control company immediately. The store says, we did 3 times. It's still a problem and we don't feel heard. The rules look perfect on paper, but on the ground, they may not fit. And that's the gap I kept seeing over and over again. As an inspector, as a trainer, and as a consultant, people would ask me, why isn't this working? And the answer was never just the policy, it was the disconnect between the policy and the people. And that is where creativity comes in. Creativity is the bridge. Now, when I say creativity is the bridge, I don't mean make it up as you go. I mean being intentional about designing systems that actually work for people doing the work. Food safety regulations are vague on purpose. They give you the what and leave the how up to you. And if you're the leader, that's your job. Figuring out how to bring the standard to life in your space with your people, your equipment, and your food. So let's talk about how you do that because this is what I've helped the teams do over and over again, and I really love it. Number one, know your people. How does your team actually absorb information? Are they visual, hands on? Do they need one pagers, text reminders, quick huddles instead of 30-minute trainings and meetings? Not everyone learns the same. Some need examples, some need reminders, and some just need you to say it straight up. You can't copy and paste training. You have to translate it for each person on your team. Number two, build systems that work in the flow. Now, I'll give you a real example. I once worked with a business where the receiving logs were kept in the office all the way at the front of the store in a locked cabinet. And then the thermometers, they were somewhere in the back room. They always had to find it anytime there was a load. So, what do you think was the result? Nobody was logging anything. It was a hassle. It didn't make sense. And it took too much time to gather all of the stuff that was needed when they really just needed to unload the truck and get back to work. So we removed it all. We put a hook right by the door where the deliveries came in, and we had a clipboard, a pen, and a thermometer, everything attached right where they needed it. Then we retrained the team, And suddenly it wasn't a burden, it was part of the shift, not a compliance task, just something that made the day run smoother. And it worked. We were now getting receiving temps regularly. And number three, empower frontline voices. If your warehouse crew, kitchen team, or your field staff says the system doesn't work, believe them, even if for a second, even if they are your number one complainer. That doesn't mean throw the rule away. It means ask, what would make this doable? What needs to move or change so this becomes natural and not an extra step? What would make it feel like support, not micromanaging? Because that's what this is all about. Your role as a leader is taking policy and making it practical. Now, I want to walk you through a real leadership moment. Let's take something from the food code. Simple on paper, not so simple in practice. Something we all know. Cold food must be held at 41 degrees or lower. That's the rule. Now, how you make that happen, that's where Restaurant Smart takes the lead. You could do that with a commercial refrigerator, a freezer. You could have ice in a display case like you see in seafood departments. You can have a coffin cooler. All of these are technically correct as long as the food stays at or below 41 degrees. But how do you know if that's happening? That's the part the regulation doesn't spell out. What if you've got a cooler that defrosts 4 times a day? And during defrost, the temp creeps up to 45 degrees. Maybe you check food temps during those defrost cycles. Maybe you transfer the food to another cooler for that hour. Or maybe you install a data logger to automate the temperature monitoring. All of those can be the right solution. It just depends on your setup, your people, and your tools. That's your creative space. That's where the people closest to the equipment, the flow, and the pressure points should be part of the process. But here's the thing, if nothing's written down, if it doesn't say check cooler thermometers every 2 hours, or transfer product during defrost, or use a probe thermometer to verify the temperatures, then there's no standard. There's nothing to track, nothing to prove, and that's where corporate smart needs to come in. Creating the documentation, logs, and systems that protect the business, the customer, and the team. So here's the takeaway. As a food leader, your job is to bridge the gap. And sometimes that is hard, especially if you only know one side. Maybe you're in the corporate office and have never worked a service shift. Or maybe you're running a kitchen and no one ever explained the why behind the rules. So take the time, spend a day observing, bring the team into the conversation. Create policies with them, not for them, because when you build together, you get systems that work. You get compliance that feels natural, and that is the goal. So, here's what I want you to do this week. Pick one system in your operation, just one, and ask yourself, does this work on paper and in practice? Is it easy for my team to follow in the real flow of the shift? And do we have it written down clearly so anyone can follow it, even on a busy day? And if the answer is no, that's your opportunity. Talk to your team, watch how the process actually works, and adjust the plan, and then document it. That's how you lead with both corporate and restaurant smart. That's how you build systems that don't just meet the rules, they respect the people doing the work. Because at the end of the day, that's what leadership is about. Not enforcing from above, but building something that everyone can understand and implement. Bring both sides to the table. What the regulations say and how we execute them go hand in hand. That's corporate smart versus restaurant smart. Or in my favorite part of the world, that's book smart versus street smart. You must have both in order to have a compliant food safety system. Now, repeat after me. I lead with structure and flexibility. I create systems that protect people, product, and purpose. I build bridges between compliance and culture. And if you like this episode, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another food leader. I want you to have a great corporate and a restaurant smart week, and I will see you next time.